Daegu is South Korea's third largest city, a metropolitan hub of 2.5 million people located 300 kilometers from Seoul. By 2003, its subway network was a daily necessity, carrying hundreds of thousands of passengers across the city. On Tuesday morning, February 18th, the trains were filled with the usual crowd: students, office workers, and the elderly heading out for morning errands. Among them was 56-year-old Kim Dae-han. A former taxi driver, Kim had been left partially paralyzed by a stroke 2 years earlier. He was deeply angry, convinced that the medical treatment he received had been inadequate. That anger had evolved into a profound depression. Investigators later learned that Kim wanted to die, but he refused to die alone. He sought a crowded place where his end would be witnessed and shared by others. Kim's personal despair transformed a public utility into a target for mass casualty. At 9:53 a.m., Kim boarded train 1079 on Line 1. He carried 2 milk cartons filled with a flammable liquid, likely gasoline or paint thinner, and sat among dozens of unsuspecting passengers. As the train moved between stations, Kim began fumbling with a cigarette lighter. Passengers noticed and tried to intervene, but a struggle ensued. One of the cartons spilled. The liquid ignited just as the train pulled into Jungang-no Station in downtown Daegu. While Kim provided the spark, the physical makeup of the train car dictated the magnitude of the catastrophe that followed. The primary threat to the passengers inside the station was not the flames themselves. The interior of these cars, seats, ceiling panels, and floor coverings, consisted of synthetic materials. In a fire, they don't just burn, they generate extraordinarily dense, toxic smoke. The fire consumed all 6 carriages within 2 minutes. The platform quickly filled with thick, black smoke. Conventional engineering choices had effectively built a high-volume toxic smoke generator in an enclosed underground space. Seconds later, train 108 arrived from the opposite direction. The driver of 108 saw the smoke and the fire on the platform, but brought the train to a stop in the station anyway. This was the critical window to limit the death toll. However, the driver did not immediately open the doors or report the emergency to the control center. Confusion over proper protocol left the train sitting at the smoke-filled platform for several minutes. The human operators were paralyzed by a lack of clear procedures at the exact moment decisive action was required. A mechanical failure sealed the trap. Because the train was slightly mispositioned, the automatic door system locked. The emergency ventilation system failed, leaving the smoke nowhere to go. Visibility dropped to 0 as toxic smoke from the first train poured into the carriages of the second. Most of the 19 victims did not burn to death. They suffocated in the dark, trapped inside a train they could not exit. The fire burned for over 4 hours. The heat was so intense that it was initially impossible for firefighters to even enter the station. When rescuers finally reached the cars, many of the 192 victims could only be identified through DNA testing. Kim Dae-han survived his burns and was sentenced to life in prison for arson and homicide. The official investigation exposed a lethal combination of systemic failures: flammable car interiors, delayed ventilation, malfunctioning door locks, and non-existent emergency communication protocols. While one man started the fire, infrastructural negligence was responsible for the catastrophic scale of the loss. Following the tragedy, South Korea launched sweeping reforms. Every subway car in the country was retrofitted with non-combustible stainless steel and flame-resistant materials. The network integrated illuminated evacuation signage and modernized emergency intercoms throughout every station. Engineers also installed manual door release handles in every car, ensuring passengers can physically override the locking system during an emergency. The effectiveness of these safety systems was demonstrated in 2025, when a copycat arson attack on a Seoul subway resulted in 0 deaths. The fire-resistant materials and updated protocols performed as designed. 192 people began a Tuesday morning with the most routine of errands. The fire that killed them took only 2 minutes to consume their trains. The smoke that claimed their lives took only a few minutes more.